want the one being offered to them. It was the failure of that approach that led to the federal role withering in the wake of the Great Society, leaving cities and regions on their own to respond, which in turn meant that examples like Seattle, a Pittsburgh, or a Boston reinventing themselves became all too rare. It's for that reason that the Obama administration's effort to win the future has relied on a new kind of urban policy that envisions a new kind of federal partner, one that breaks from the past and recognizes that the old ways of one-size-fits-all and the failure to allow for local flexibility simply won't do. Not with all the challenges America faces today. In a world where flexible workplaces win, in a world where flexible minds win, and in a world where flexible economies win, you need a flexible, locally responsive federal partner. That's why the Obama administration has focused not only on seizing this economic moment to save our cities and metros from economic collapse, but to build the platform for 21st century urban policy in these places. And we've done this by strengthening the 4 key pillars of America's cities to respond to local needs and local markets: people, places, the rules of the road, and local leaders and institutions. The first pillar is the people that make up a city's workforce and drive its economy. As we move from an industrial economy to a knowledge-based economy, we see that the most successful places are those with high-skilled workers. Those people, not raw materials, are now the most important economic asset any city has. And if we've learned anything over the past 20 years, it's that our people must be prepared for a lifetime of economic change and learning. The foundation to responding to this reality is to ensure basic educational skill development early and well. That's why, to ensure children could continue to learn and acquire those vital skills during the Great Recession, the administration prevented mass layoffs of teachers through the Recovery Act. And it's why we've invested federal funding that encourages endangered local school systems to begin traveling the long road toward excellence, giving teachers and principals the tools they need to ensure they're preparing children to join a 21st century workforce through Race to the Top, through the cradle-to-career approach to lifetime learning supported by Promise Neighborhoods, and by bringing these early innovations to efforts like Head Start through the Early Learning Challenge. And that's why, when we acted in a moment of crisis to save the auto industry from the brink of collapse, we didn't only help this industry retool their business models to better meet the challenges of the 21st century marketplace. By providing the training workers needed to compete in that marketplace that was responsive to community needs, and investing $300 million in new, more fuel-efficient vehicles for the federal fleet, we also reignited a historic economic engine in this region and trained a workforce with the skills to sustain it. To support the new and innovative industries that will employ these newly skilled workers and drive economic growth in the 21st century, we've also helped foster regional innovation clusters that capitalize on the density of human capital. This community is no stranger to the idea that a concentration of firms and industries that do business with each other have common needs for talent, technology, and infrastructure that can create a virtuous cycle of investment and talent attraction. That model, developed through the auto industry here in the Midwest, provided the blueprint for regional clusters from Cambridge, Massachusetts to Silicon Valley. And with leadership from the private sector, Detroit is at the forefront once again. Indeed, because of the investment of CompuWare and Quicken Loans and support from Wayne State University and Governor Snyder to forge business incubators like TechTown and Ann Arbor Spark, Detroit has become the nation's fastest growing tech job market. Combining this new approach to supporting product innovation with investments through the Recovery Act has helped America become a global leader in advanced vehicle battery manufacturing. Think about this. Just 2 years ago, the United States had only 2 factories manufacturing them. By next year, 30 factories will be online, and they'll be able to satisfy a combined 20% of the worldwide market for advanced battery technology. By 2015, we're on track to expand that to 40% of the worldwide market. The second pillar of the administration's urban economic policy is to support the neighborhoods and places that people call home, the character of its buildings and streets, and the connections between them. Just as strong regions are anchored by strong cities are built on strong and resilient neighborhoods, good places to live, run a business, raise a family. In the 20th century industrial economy, people followed companies. In the 21st century, where capital is mobile, companies follow people that want to move to vibrant neighborhoods that attract knowledge and innovation. And when the New York Times is writing articles, as they did last week, about enterprising artists starting small businesses and hipsters hosting rooftop parties here in Detroit, about young people leaving Seattle to move to downtown Detroit, that compares the scene to Berlin and the early days of Tribeca, you know something's brewing, or microbrewing, perhaps. Now don't worry, Dave. I'm not going to ask you to get a tattoo or a piercing, and I won't be doing that myself. But seriously, something is happening in Detroit to attract innovation and talent and new capital, human capital. Now, of course, for these synergies to be effective, these places have to be connected to one another. That's why Henry Ford Medical Center, the Detroit Medical Center, and Wayne State University are partnering to revitalize Woodward Avenue with recovery dollars. It's why the mayor has been so focused with private partners, with the Kresge Foundation and others, and they've committed to leverage the Department of Transportation's investment to develop a critical light rail corridor. And it's why, as part of the President's commitment to rebuilding the nation's infrastructure through the Recovery Act and investments yet to come, the high-speed rail network will connect the New Center neighborhood, where Mayor Bing and I spoke just this morning, to the entire Midwest regional economy. Of course, vibrancy also requires a healthy local housing market. In the crisis we experienced, foreclosures were decimated neighborhoods. That's why we invested $7 billion in neighborhood stabilization funds to help turn foreclosed homes from eyesores into assets. And they've done more than just help these communities recover from the foreclosure crisis. As Mayor Bing has shown, neighborhood stabilization has helped places that have faced longer-term challenges and house price declines fundamentally rethink the way they use land to compete. Indeed, using these tools, Detroit is a third of the way through the 10,000 homes that he's committed to raising, and well along on rebuilding those neighborhoods that he's focused on with neighborhood stabilization funds. And speaking of our most challenged neighborhoods, cities can't compete, and America can't win the race to educate our kids with 20% of our children growing up in poverty. Just the costs of lost productivity, lost health and public safety is $500 billion a year to our national economy, 4% of GDP on just those kids growing up in poverty. Through the Neighborhood Revitalization Initiative, we've worked in a groundbreaking way across agencies, employing innovative